father of Hollywood.com, along with Truthwins.com, presents Dreamland New Beginnings, written by Dr. Galen Whitley Keith, narrated by Keith Whitley. Chapter 12. The great hall of Los Angeles Union Station bustled with a restless energy. Steam rose from the platforms, mingling with the shouts of porters and the eager chatter of travelers pressing westward into new lives. Out of this tide of humanity stepped H.J. and Gigi Whitley, their presence distinctive even among the throng. A young porter trailed them with their luggage piled high, while Gigi paused just inside the arching doors to gaze at the light falling in fractured patterns across the tiled floor. "Do you see?" she whispered, turning to her husband with eyes bright. "My dreams have led us here again. It is like déjà vu." H.J. smiled at her, calm and steady. "They have indeed, and this time you will see your dreams born into stone, streets, and life." Taking her arm, he led her outside where a carriage rattled in wait. Their familiar driver reined the horses and tipped his hat. Gigi embraced H.J. quickly, her heart already full. "Perhaps we must thank Mr. Steele after all. Had it not been for him, we might never have returned." H.J. laughed, helping her into the carriage. "I only wish to make you happy." Gigi blushed when he kissed her softly, before patting her rump in a moment of roguish play. His eyes darted about in embarrassment, hers filled with laughter, cheeks warm as roses. The wheels clattered upon paving stones as their carriage drew again before the Pico House Hotel. The long arcaded facade shimmered under the California sun, its white columns proud against the plaza's bustle. H.J. descended, steadying Gigi with hand and smile. "Take our trunks to the desk," he instructed the porter. As he turned, General Otis, editor of the Los Angeles Times and one of California's commanding figures, emerged from the hotel doors. Their handshake was heartfelt, their voices weighted with respect. "I must introduce you to my wife," H.J. said with pride, guiding Gigi forward. "This is Gigi." Otis bowed over her hand gallantly. "Now I see why Whitley smiles so often these days. A pleasure indeed, madam." Plans were quickly made for dinner with Otis, his wife, and their daughter Marion. As H.J. led Gigi into the lobby, their eyes met in a flood of tender intimacy. The city, the hotel, the business all second to the silent joy of being acknowledged as man and wife. Later, perfume of roses and musk wafted in their bridal suite. The broad windows admitted a golden stream of afternoon sun spilling across velvet curtains and polished wood. Gigi stood before a long mirror, clad only in silk and corset, her golden hair tumbling as she brushed it in long, gliding strokes. She smiled with knowing mischief when she caught H.J. watching her reflection. Their eyes met, hers bold, his smoldering, and slowly she crossed the room. Fingers grazed his chest as she unbuttoned his shirt one by one until his composure faltered. In a breath, she pressed her lips to his, and soon he loosened her corset lace with shaking hands. "Darling," she whispered, red cheeks and sly smile, "we have all afternoon." "Dinner is not until 7, H.J. murmured, his breath thick. Moments later, laughter dissolved into passion. Clothes fell in careless disarray. He bore her gently to the bed, and for a long while their world was melted away by love, desire, and the soft heartbeat of afternoon. By nightfall, laughter returned in a different form. At the French restaurant, gaslights flickered while polished cutlery chimed against porcelain. At the table sat Whitley, Gigi, General Otis, his wife Eliza, and their daughter Marion. Over pheasant and wine, they spoke eagerly of the West's promise. "I am glad to hear of your plans," Otis observed gravely. "Will you show Gigi the land tomorrow?" H.J. inclined his head. "I already stand in agreement with E.C. Hurd. 500 acres purchased. I am certain Gigi will grow to love it as I do." He fell silent a moment, the weight of vision in his eyes. Then he pressed on. "Once matters are secure, I wish you, General, and trusted men of business to join me. We will form a syndicate to create something greater than commerce, a place where the future itself may settle. Otis smiled knowingly. I believe I know the right men, perhaps even M.H. Sherman if pressed. And by Thursday, H.J. said firmly, the Los Angeles Pacific Boulevard and Development Company will have its wings. Dawn. Their horses galloped across the fresh-laid trails of Los Angeles County, the city sprawl still distant. H.J. rode his strong black stallion, Gigi a spirited white mare. She wore her riding skirt, though beneath it, as he would discover, lay trousers. At a grassy knoll, Gigi slipped down, unbuttoning her skirt and letting it drop. H.J. gaped with scandalized breath. "Breeches!" he barked, half irritated, half stirred. "They are far more practical," she teased, twirling in the sunlight, long blonde hair flowing behind her. "Better than bustles and layers for a woman who rides as well as any man." H.J. tried to scowl, but laughter escaped him. "My wife scandalizes society and conquers mountains." "Then let us race to the top," Gigi cried, leaping upon her mare. "Come, husband, if you dare." They thundered up the mountain path, her hair streaming, his stallion pounding, until the treacherous tree appeared, limbs thrust like spears into the air. H.J. shouted, "Turn back! Damn it, Gigi, look!" But she rode unflinching, guiding her horse to leap between the perilous limbs. She sailed through, fearless, triumphant. H.J. followed, a limb scoring his arm, yet not slowing his charge. Up and up they raced, and at last she gained the crest seconds before him. Breathless, he dismounted and seized her, his arm bloodied. "You frightened me half to death." She smiled, laughing softly as she reached to touch his wound. "I frightened you? Yet it is not my fault. I ride better than you." He pulled her close in half anger, half relief, only to yield at last with a smirk. "Very well, but keep your trousers, madam. They suit you." They turned together and gazed out across rolling golden hills peppered with citrus groves, across meadows spreading to the great silver sea. Gigi gasped, breath caught in awe. "My heavens, it is magnificent." H.J. unfolded a small book, sketched quickly. "Here I will build a city, not for railroads nor companies, but for us. A dreamland more beautiful than anything I've ever known." Gigi leaned close. "What will you call it?" Before H.J. could answer, a strange sound carried toward them, a man singing in a loud, uneven voice, words rolling in broken English against the steady creak of wagon wheels. Out from behind the clustered oaks came a wagon stacked high with wood. A Chinese laborer, perhaps in his 30s, guided the reins with one hand and sang merrily until he saw the couple. Stopping at once, he clambered down, bowed with palms pressed together, and smiled broadly. "Good day, sir. Good day, lady," he greeted. "I am Chen. Big tree fall in road last night. Wake up early, work hard, hauly wood back and forth, all day in hot sun. Hauly wood." He bowed again, his teeth flashing. "Good heavens," H.J. said politely, both charmed and curious. "That is a tremendous load." Chen nodded, still beaming. He cast Gigi a glance, bowed again, then returned to his wagon. With a quick wave, he drove on, the creaking load fading down the path until his singing grew faint in the distance. For a long moment, H.J. stood very still, as though stricken by something unseen. When at last he turned, there was fire in his eyes. "Now I understand what your dreams mean to you," he whispered. "For just now I had a vision, not a dream, but something like it. It came all at once, like a lantern held against the dark. I saw this whole valley, this mountain, become a city greater than we can imagine, streets and gardens, houses and theaters, a place where all dreams converge." He opened his small notebook again and began scrawling quick sketches, lines for roads, curves for homes, the bones of a city coming to life under his pencil. "That man's words," H.J. murmured, almost to himself. "He said Hollywood, but what I heard was destiny. Hollywood." "Hollywood," Gigi repeated, tasting the syllables with delight. "It sounds splendid, regal, like an estate in the Highlands, and yet fresh and new. Hollywood. Yes, H.J. said with conviction, looking out over the fragrant orchards to the horizon. Welcome to Hollywood, the land where dreams come true, where people of aspiration shall live in comfort and build their futures. It will be the crowning creation of my life, the name I leave for the world to remember. Gigi leaned her head against his shoulder, her smile tender. I love it, and Hollywood sounds heavenly. Together they gazed down into the valley, eyes fixed not on what it was, but what it would become. A city born not only of vision and labor, but of dreams, love, and destiny. Come back next Wednesday to hear the next chapter of Dreamland New Beginnings, written by Dr. Galen Whitley Keith, narrated by Keith Whitley.